In the gentle rolling hills of eastern Pennsylvania, just a few miles southeast of Lancaster, is one of the most unique spots in the United States. This is Amish country, and beautifully manicured, hand-tilled fields dot the landscape. But there's a lot more to see and do here than just enjoy the scenery. If you love trains, then the little town of Strasburg, Pennsylvania should be on your must-see list, because this little town is host to several unique railroad attractions. If you decide to visit Strasburg, you can stay at the Red Caboose Motel, one of the most unusual motels in the country. Here you can stay overnight in an authentic railroad caboose. They're painted in enough different railroad road names that you ought to be able to find one of your favorites to call your own, even if only for a night. Right next door to the motel, you'll find the Train Collectors Association National Headquarters. Inside are 5 small toy train layouts and some other TCA displays. As you might guess, there's a railroad track right next to the Caboose Motel, and it's a well-traveled railroad. The rails belong to the Strasburg Scenic Railroad, one of the best scenic tourist railroads in the United States. Steam locomotives travel these rails on a daily basis, pulling authentic historical rail cars for the enjoyment of thousands of passengers every year. Just across the street from the Scenic Railroad is the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, with a wonderful collection of steam and diesel locomotives on display. And next door to the Railroad Museum is the most unique spot of them all, the Choo Choo Barn. Inside this building is one of the finest O-gauge model railroads you'll find anywhere. From modest beginnings way back in 1961, today the Choo Choo Barn hosts thousands of people who come to see this huge operating model railroad. How did this railroad get started? It's a unique story.
The Choo Choo Barn actually got started when my father got out of World War II in 1945 and came home to a 2-year-old son. My father always wanted to have trains as a child, but never had a chance to have any. But this gave him a perfect reason to go out and buy a $12.50 Lionel Scout to encircle the Christmas tree. Over the next couple of years, my sister Sue came along, then I came along, and we basically had to get interested in trains. We had no choice. We had a very large basement, of which our train layout took up 1/3 of it. We would always open it up around the Christmas holidays to friends, neighbors. We lived only a block away from the Strasburg Elementary School, and each one of those classes would come down one at a time to come view our trains. We always had trains in the basement, which was great. We never had to take them down, and we were always working on them and having a good time with them. In 1961, my brother was getting ready to go to college, and my father, needing extra money to foot a college expense, came up with the great idea of taking the trains, opening up a commercial display, and charging admission to see it. Well, my mom and dad opened the display on Thanksgiving Day of 1961, charging 50 cents for adults and 25 cents for children. The display was 500 square feet, 6 trains, and 6 animations. In the past number of years, we have greatly increased the size of our display to over 1,700 square feet. We constantly upgrade and work on the display. We close 3 months a year in January, February, and March, and at that time the whole display is totally cleaned, refurbished. We build new buildings, we add new animations, and sometimes we may even add an extra train somewhere. We're always changing the display, constantly upgrading, and we'll never ever finish as long as we're around.
When you enter the Choo Choo Barn, the first thing you see is something very unique to a model railroad, a baseball game. Tom has set the scene in the bottom of the 9th. The pitcher is in the stretch, and the winning run is on third base. Will he score? Well, that's up to you. Let your imagination tell you the answer. All during the game, the rails nearby hum with traffic. Passenger trains and freight trains rumble by at regular intervals. There are 20 operating trains on this railroad, and we'll see just about all of them during our video visit. Just down the road from the ball game is the Choo Choo Barn Zoo. The zoo has a small train ride to take visitors through the zoo. Inside are more of Tom Groff's delightful animations. Animated scenes are what make this layout so unique. Tom has spent thousands of hours designing, building, and installing hundreds of various animations around the layout. Many of the animations are small scenes, like this teeter-totter in the park. But there are also a few large and complex animated scenes involving several synchronized animated figures. Let's take a look at some of them. Out in the back field, this farmer has a problem with a groundhog. Every time that critter rises up out of his hole, the farmer gets ready to plug him. But that old groundhog is too fast for him, ducking out of the way before he can fire a shot. Here's another guy with a problem. Now you know how stubborn donkeys can be if they want to. This young man may be dreaming of becoming a pilot someday. He's doing a pretty good job with this airplane. The roof on the old farmhouse started to leak last week after the big rain, so these guys have started repairs. There are so many of these animations around the layout that the Choo Choo Barn Model Railroad absolutely sparkles with life. Since we're in Amish country, the layout wouldn't be complete without an Amish barn raising. Here's the whole scene, and it's very authentic. While the men work on building the new barn, the women are busy preparing the evening meal, and from the look of those long shadows, it's getting on towards dinner time. The horses that brought all these folks here wait patiently until the day's work is done. And the kids have found a great way to pass the time on a rope swing tied to the big elm tree beside the barn. Back closer to town, there's construction of another kind going on. These carpenters are busy framing in a new house, and it looks like a busy day on this construction site. In another part of town, contractors are at work on a brick house that's a little further along, while the backhoe is busy digging a ditch for the plumbing over here. The pile driver hammers away over here. New homes mean more people, and that means more traffic. So the road crew is busy repaving the highway leading into the new housing development. One of the reasons there's so much new construction going on is because there are a lot of good jobs in the imaginary miniature world of the Choo Choo Barn. For example, here's the morning train stopping at Dole Sand and Gravel. Aboard are workers headed for this huge animated quarry. Named after O-Gauge Railroading magazine editor Fred Dole, the quarry is an example of one of the largest animations on the layout. This quarry is a new addition to the Choo Choo Barn layout, and Tom spent hundreds of hours building and perfecting it. The highlight of the new quarry is this animated clamshell digger. It picks up the stone from the pit, lifts and pivots, and then drops the stone into the hopper. Then it returns to the quarry for another load of stone. It's a very realistic looking and operating animated display. Modeling things from real life is another of the Choo Choo Barn's special attractions. Owner Tom Groff delights in creating scenes that people can identify with, so there are several spots on the layout that depict real places in and around Lancaster County. For example, here's Dutch Haven, an Amish craft and quilt shop just a little ways east of Lancaster on busy US Route 30. Traffic looks pretty heavy on the miniature Route 30, and I'll bet this craft shop is just as busy as the real thing. If you head west on Route 30 from the Dutch Haven, you'll find this new modern building. This is the American Music Theater, another popular tourist attraction near Lancaster, where some of today's best entertainers perform. There's no American music theater on the Choo Choo Barn layout. However, longtime visitors to Lancaster County will remember this building. This is the Willows Restaurant, which used to stand where the American Music Theater stands today. The Willows will stay on the layout because it was the place to eat in days gone by. Delicious food, good prices, and lots of memories. Here's a major Lancaster County attraction, Dutch Wonderland, also located on US Route 30 just east of Lancaster. This popular amusement park draws thousands of visitors every year. That rail you see in the air is for the monorail ride, which goes all the way around the park. Not to be outdone, Tom has built a virtual replica of Dutch Wonderland on the Choo Choo Barn layout. The smoothly operating monorail runs around the park and makes regular stops at the station for new riders. Tom has also added a special feature that even the real Dutch Wonderland doesn't have, and it's just for the little ones. I'll bet every kid in America knows who this is. Hi, Thomas. Inside the park, there are amusement rides, plus a cable car that provides an aerial view of the park. Uh-oh. Looks like this guy didn't quite make it into the park before trouble hit. Well, I hope he gets it fixed soon. Some folks come a long way to visit Dutch Wonderland, and they've got to have a place to stay. The Red Caboose Motel just east of Strasburg fills the bill for the real people, and the imaginary visitors on the Choo Choo Barn Railroad stay at their own motel of the same name. Now, Tom has chosen to model the Red Caboose Motel the way it used to be, when all the cabooses were painted red. It might have been tough to pick a favorite then, but it sure is easy to find your favorite railroad now. And just like the real motel, the Choo Choo Barn's model of the Strasburg Scenic Railway runs right past on its way to Lehman Place. There's one more real building on this layout, but you won't find it along the main drag in Strasburg or along Route 30. No, this building is sort of private, because it's a model of Tom and Linda Groff's home. In fact, as the family grew and they added on to their home, Tom modified the model, making the same additions to their miniature home. Sure looks comfy. There are a lot of beautiful homes on the Choo Choo Barn Railroad, and wait a minute, this house is on fire! Somebody call the fire department. That was close. Good thing the firehouse is right down the block. Another aspect of the Choo Choo Barn's effort to create realism can be seen in the way the trains operate. For example, here's the westbound trailer train holding the main for a meet with the eastbound passenger train. The dispatcher's doing a good job today because only moments after the trailer train stops, the F units on the passenger train roar out of the tunnel and pass by the waiting trailer train. By the way, did you notice that beautiful waterfall near the tunnel? It's one of several places where Tom has used real water as part of the scenery on the railroad. There's just no substitute for using real water if you're going to model a creek, pond, or river, especially if you're going to have a few goldfish in the pond for the kids to see. Trains are the main reason people come to the Choo Choo Barn, and there's a lot of them to see. Hey, do you hear that? There's a parade going on around here somewhere. Aha, here it is. Here's a small-town holiday parade, complete with a band and the appropriate military honors. Things are moving okay down Main Street as far as the parade is concerned. But over on the other side of town, we've got a major traffic jam. The highway traffic may be stopped, but the rail traffic is still moving quite nicely, thank you. Here's the reason for the traffic jam. There's been a traffic accident. Now, before you get too worried, we checked with the hospital, and the accident victim was okay, just minor injuries.
Here's the main passenger station on the Choo Choo Barn layout, and it's a busy place. Trolleys come and go on the trolley line, while out on the main, Amtrak passenger trains make regular stops. The conductor on the passenger train, who calls out the real names of nearby towns, sounds like he's anxious to get going.
Train number 68 to Thaddeus Stevens departing at 2 p.m. for Fairview, Weston Shade, Cherry Hill, Groff's Grove, Carpenters, Tyler's Crossing, Lemon Place Junction, and Paradise Theater. What?
The station has an escalator inside to move people up to the platform, and there's even a rail fan with a camera taking pictures of all the action. No model railroad would be complete without an amusement park, and the Choo Choo Barn has a good one. This Ferris wheel is another example of Tom Groff's craftsmanship. This is not a kit, it's scratch-built, and Tom invested over 100 hours in building it.
Even the wheel's drive mechanism is prototypical, turning the wheel with a long cable going all the way around the perimeter of the wheel. Here's another popular ride in any amusement park, the Twister.
As this coal train rolls by on the main line, it passes the crowning achievement in animation on this railroad.
This huge circus scene. Tom has pulled out all the stops here, with animated scenes everywhere you look. You could spend an hour here at the circus and still not see everything.
This huge display of Lancaster County in miniature is an absolute delight, but there's even more. Inside the Strasburg train shop, just a few steps from the Choo Choo Barn main entrance, you'll find a full-line hobby shop with almost anything a model railroader could ever want. Upstairs is Thomas's Trackside Station, an entire store devoted to Thomas the Tank Engine merchandise. Wouldn't the grandkids love something from here? Just down the hall from Thomas's Trackside Station is Railroad Books and Videos, home to hundreds of books, videos, and clothing items. There's even a used train section here, where you just might find the train you played with when you were a kid. And if you want a great meal after your visit, Isaac's Restaurant and Deli is literally right next door. The Choo Choo Barn is open 7 days a week from April through December. Special group rates are available and tour buses are always welcome. The Choo Choo Barn is on Pennsylvania State Route 741, just east of Strasburg. You can't miss it. There's no doubt about it. The Choo Choo Barn is a magical miniature wonderland that all ages will enjoy. Stop by and see us soon.